In this video, we're going to go over the steps to get a WordPress installation up and running on your local machine. So this is really helpful when you're making a new site to be able to develop everything locally, and once you're done with that, then put it up on the live site. So here are the steps we're going to need to go through. We're going to need to make sure that we have a server running on our local computer. We're going to need to create an empty database which WordPress will eventually use to store its configurations and all the tables that it needs to run, and where you will eventually save your new posts and the content that you add to your website. We're going to need to download the newest version of WordPress, and then we're going to simply need to run the built-in WordPress installer, which takes care of most of the last few steps of configuration for us. So let's get started. First step, get a web server running. So using a Mac, the best way to do this is to download MAMP. MAMP stands for Mac, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And these are all the wonderful things you need to make WordPress work for you locally. So if you don't have this installed, there's a free version of MAMP. Go to mamp.info, download, do the installation, get that all up and running, which is a very simple process, and come back here and finish the rest of the steps. For most of you, I'm going to assume that you already have MAMP installed. So let's launch it. And I'm using MAMP Pro, but if you're using the free version, all the steps should be close to the same. It may just look a little bit different. Okay, so now we're going to get MAMP started. Again, extremely easy, and it's thinking, and now it's running. So we now have a local Apache server running. Go to Web Start, and this is where we're going to get into the process of creating our first blank database. So first thing we want to look at over here on the localhost start page, configurations for MySQL, our host, our username, which is root, our password, which is password. These are all things that we're going to use in later steps. For now, we're going to create a brand new empty database that WordPress is going to use to put all of its configuration files in. Go to Databases. You can see there's a Create Database field. We'll create a new website database. You name this whatever you want to name it, usually something that has to do with the name of your new site, but it's totally up to you. Leave it at Coalition, click Create, and that's all there is to it. You now have a new empty database. No tables, no nothing. We're going to just need to remember that we named it New Website, and that's it. Next step, download WordPress. So WordPress.org, and that's important, is where we find the newest version of the WordPress install. Click Download. I'm going to download the zip file to my desktop so we can find it easily. Download it here. Downloaded there, so we can see it on the desktop now. We have the newest version of WordPress. It's as easy as that. So what we need to do next is to get these WordPress files over into our local host, which is where MAMP serves all of our websites. So if you go to localhost, you'll see that the document root is applications MAMP htdocs. And basically what that means is localhost is pointing at the htdocs directory. So anything we put in the htdocs directory is going to be accessible through localhost. So we'll go over to Finder, go to Applications, MAMP, htdocs, open that in a new window. And this is going to be where we put all of our new files for our WordPress site. You can see index.php is simply this MAMP Pro landing page. So what we need to do here is create a new folder for our website, which we will later put all of our WordPress files in. So let's just name it new website. We're going to extract the WordPress files so we have access to them. And they are conveniently underneath the zip file. So what we want to do is take everything within that WordPress file and put it into our new website file. The way I do it, go into the WordPress file, select all, Command A, and simply drag these over to the new website directory you created. Hold down Option to copy the files. And there you go. All the WordPress files are now in your new directory within the localhost directory. So new website is the name of that directory we created within localhost. New website. So for you, you type whatever you named that new directory. And there we go. We see a WordPress file which says we don't have a WP config file set up. That's necessary to run WordPress. So let's create it. And again, WordPress is going to walk you through all of these steps. So listed here are the four or five things that you need. Database name, that's what we named our database in a previous step. Username and password, which is what we saw at localhost. /mamp, sorry. Root and password. And host, we're going to simply use localhost. So let's do it. Database name. I named mine new website. Enter here whatever you named your empty database. Username, again, root. Password is password. And we're running on localhost. So just to reiterate, username and password for this are going to be your default MySQL username and password. And this fifth box, table prefix, you can leave as is. Submit. Okay, ready to run the install. So the only next step is to create a few settings for your new site. Username, that's just the first user for this new website. Very weak. Let me redo that. When you do upload this to a live site, these settings are going to go with it, so might as well make a decent password at this point. And we'll just enter an email address. And for now, we can leave this checked. Install WordPress. Boom, it's all done. Success. Now let's log in. And magically, we have a brand new website running WordPress, running on our local machine. Now, get ready to go in, configure, set up your new website, theme it, change it, add posts, add new pages, do whatever you want to do, and you can do it all locally. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope the steps were easy to follow. Again, the only few things that we did, got a local server running, created an empty database, downloaded WordPress, and then we ran the WordPress installer, which we connected to the database that we created. Go through those installation steps, and you're all set up and ready to go. So enjoy your new powers to create WordPress sites locally. If you wanted to create another website, you'd go through the same steps, create a new directory in your htdocs folder, and run a new install.